Welcome to the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. Get ready to be inspired, uplifted, and connected to the miraculous energy of unconditional love that I call Mother Mary. If you're a highly sensitive, highly creative entrepreneur or lightworker, and you want to magnify your impact and your intuition, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Reverend Frances Faden, interfaith minister, intuitive coach, and author of Meditation is Friendship with God. I can't wait to share miraculous stories, books, meditations, messages, and interviews with other miraculous lightworkers just like you. Are you ready to magnify your miracles? What are we waiting for? Let's get started. Hello, my miraculous friend, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. This is Reverend Frances Faden, and I'm so grateful that we get to spend this time together today because we're talking about, all this month we're talking about the topic of money, but today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 3 money miracle books for lightworkers like you and me. These are the books that I have used that have helped me to really experience miracles in the area of money. And I'm excited to share them with you. But before we do that, let's take a few deep breaths together. Just get ourselves grounded and centered. Even if you're driving, please keep your eyes on the road, but you can still keep your attention on your breath and just allowing yourself to let go of whatever might happen later, whatever happened before, and just come deeply into the now. You know, this moment is where the divine dwells. The divine is always in the present moment. And whenever we take the time to stop and breathe and connect, we connect in with that part of ourselves that is divine, that is eternal, that is infinite, and is connected to all the resources that we would ever need. And knowing that today, you are going to be hearing exactly what you need to hear to help you move powerfully forward to magnify your miracles, especially around money. Let's take one more deep breath together in gratitude, and we can begin. All right, my friend. Well, welcome back to the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. And I'm so excited to share these 3 books with you because if you are like me, you have probably read many, many books. You might have taken a lot of courses. You might have watched the movie The Secret when it first came out and you believe it, but perhaps you haven't been able to translate it into your actual experience. And it can feel frustrating. It can feel confusing. It can feel disheartening. You know, like, oh, maybe it works for everybody else, but it doesn't work for me kind of thing. I know I've had those thoughts myself quite often. And that's why I'm so grateful to share these 3 books because I've been reading about this stuff since I was a teenager. I've been reading about metaphysics and visualization and all that stuff. And it was very hit or miss. It was very like sometimes things would shift and sometimes they wouldn't shift. And then sometimes they would shift and then sometimes they wouldn't shift. And I didn't really know what I was doing right. And I didn't know what I was doing wrong. But I always had this belief inside of me that it's possible. You know, I really believed that the things that I heard on The Secret, I believed that it was true, but I just couldn't figure out, how do I apply this? How does it work for me? So I will share with you that, you know, as a light worker, I am a spiritual entrepreneur. And so I do have the ability to come up with ideas and make money within my business relatively quickly. And a lot of people who are not entrepreneurs might not have that opportunity. That doesn't mean that what I'm going to share with you today wouldn't work for you, but I'm sharing it from the perspective of being an entrepreneur and being able to take action right away. So I'm really grateful that I don't work for some big company that I have to put in a proposal and it takes a year for them to get back to me. I can come up with an idea. I can put it out to my audience And if they like it, great, and it sells. And if not, then I can go do something. And so I've been able to apply these things that I'm going to share with you today immediately in my business. And that's where I am sharing my experience with you, is that I could see results immediately, pretty much immediately. So I'm going to be sharing 3 books with you. The first book I'm going to share with you helped me to double my income in 28 days. The second book I'm going to share with you helped me to triple my income in 30 days. And the last book I'm going to share with you is the book that actually got me to be 6 figures, got me over that 6-figure mark, which I was kind of hovering around there. And then it really helped me to have this big jump into 6-figure land, which was really a big milestone for me. So I'm going to be sharing with you today my experience. And I just want to remind you that this month, when we're focusing on money, next week's episode is episode number 100, which is why I want to do something really special. And I'm going to be sharing with you next week the $10,000 miracle that one of my clients actually experienced. And you're going to hear from her, because I can tell you about it, but I wanted you to hear it from her, what her experience was like, how she did it. And then I will share with you what's happened after that. And if you listen, I hope you tune in so that you can hear how you can do it too. I am a big, big advocate of, if I can do it, you can do it. If any of us can do it, that means we all can do it, because it's a spiritual law. Really, there's only one of us here. And you know, once you see someone that you relate to that's achieving something that you wanted to achieve, your subconscious mind starts to accept it a little bit more. It's like nobody could run a mile in 4 minutes. And then as soon as somebody did it, then all of a sudden it seemed like everybody could do it. It's that kind of idea. So when you hear from other people who are able to, boom, manifest $10,000 seemingly out of nowhere, and we'll talk about that a lot as we go and a lot next week, it gives you the courage that you could do it too. All right, so let's jump into the books. The first book is dun, 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 The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. Now, you might know Rhonda Byrne because Rhonda Byrne is the lady who produced the movie The Secret. And so The Secret is a movie, it's a book, it's an audio book. I first came across it as a movie, and it was a while ago. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wow, that movie came out like 2005, 2006. It's from a while ago. If you've not seen it, highly recommend that you see it, because it's full of good stuff, but it's just the beginning. And what a lot of people don't know is The Secret is part of an anthology of work by Rhonda Byrne. So she's got The Secret, she's got The Magic, she's got The Power. All 3 of these books are amazing. And today we're talking about The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. This is a 28-day process that she takes you through. So previous to this, I was struggling, trying to figure out, what am I doing? You know, I just started doing my channeling work with Mother Mary, and that aspect of my work was going really well. I was loving what I was doing. And I had this false assumption that if you love what you're doing, then the money should follow, because I think I read that in a book somewhere. But what I realized from doing this work in this book, The Magic, was, remember last week I told you in last week's episode that money doesn't show up just in one of the chakras. It can show up in any of them, but it most likely is going to show up in the second chakra. And the second chakra is the seat of your emotional body. So how you feel about money, what emotions you have connected to money. When money comes in, does it make you feel happy and expansive? Does it bring up fear for you? Is because it's very connected to how we feel on an emotional level. And isn't it interesting that people talk about things like the stock market in emotional terms? They'll say things like, oh, the market is feeling bullish today. Or we even use the word, when the stock market crashed, what did we call it? We called it a depression. We didn't call it like a dip on a chart or a graph. We called it a depression. Why? Because everybody felt depressed. Because we know on a subconscious level that our emotions and the frequency of money are completely connected. So how you feel, not only about money, but how you feel on a day-to-day basis, is going to impact your ability to experience more money in your life. So that's kind of the good news and the bad news at the same time. If you struggle with feeling good, your number one priority every day is to do something to make yourself feel better. Because as you feel good, you raise your vibration. And that vibration is prosperity, is on the frequency with joy. It's on the frequency with love. It's on the frequency with these really high emotions. So let's get to this book, The Magic. This book will take you through a 28-day gratitude practice. Now, you might be saying, I've done gratitude practice. I'm telling you, my friend, she is so good at taking you through this process that every day you're going to be taking an action, and you can't just read this book. You have to do this book. You have to take every day, and sometimes you need to do your exercise the night before to get ready for that day. I highly recommend that you take this book seriously. It has changed my life in more ways than one. And remember last week I was also talking to you about changing your story, changing your money story. And I've been so happy to read. So many of you have been sending me your money story and have been sharing with me what they are and what you're changing them to. And I know that as you're changing your money story, you're going to change your results. You're going to change your circumstances. So one of the things that this book will tell you is one of the techniques that she gives in these 28 days is how to do that. How to do that. Okay, so in this book, the very beginning of it, she talks about how there's a golden thread of gratitude in all of the different world religions. In Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Hinduism, they all have gratitude at their core. So this is on page 15 of this book, Bring the Magic into Your Life. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what your current circumstances, the magic of gratitude will change your entire life. I've received letters from thousands of people in the worst imaginable situations who have changed their lives completely by practicing gratitude. I've seen miracles take place in health where there seemed to be no hope. I've seen marriages saved and broken relationships transform into magnificent relationships. I've seen those in total poverty become prosperous, and I've seen people in depression catapult into joyful and fulfilling lives. Gratitude can magically turn your relationships into joyful and meaningful relationships, no matter what state they're in now. It can miraculously make you more prosperous so that you have the money that you need to do the things that you want to do, and it'll increase your health to bring a level of happiness beyond what you've ever felt before. Gratitude will work its magic to accelerate your career, increase success, and bring about your dream job or whatever it is that you want to do. In fact, whatever it is that you want to be, do, or have, gratitude is the way to receive it. The magical power of gratitude turns your life into gold. Now, I can vouch for this, my friend, because here's what happened to me. I didn't realize that I had a pessimistic attitude because, by then I was working with Mother Mary and I, was doing work that I really liked doing. But I had this kind of heavy feeling around money specifically and about life in general. And I think it was something that I picked up when I was a kid. It was modeled to me by my family that life is hard, life is drudgery, you got to work hard. And those were my stories at the time. And when I started to do this magic process in this book, here's what literally happened to me. I started feeling happier. I started feeling hopeful. I started expecting good things to happen. And guess what? Good things started happening. For example, might seem like a silly example. I used to go to my favorite grocery store when I lived down in San Diego. And I love this grocery store. I used to go in it all the time. Well, now I was doing my morning gratitude practice and really getting into it. The thing that's different about this book is she helps you to really, really get into the feeling. It's not just write down 3 things that you're grateful for. It's not just that. It's you want to write down what you're grateful for, why you're grateful for it, really get into the feeling of seeing not only how much you have in the past, but how much you have now. And that helps you to start to get into the feeling of gratitude for what you will be manifesting, even if you can't see it quite yet. I was in this state where I was so happy. I walked into my grocery store, and I'm in the produce aisle, as I often am, looking for stuff. And they just started giving me things. They were like, hey, we're so happy to see you. Now I go in this grocery store all the time. They're like, hey, we're so glad to see you. And hey, you like carrots that still have tops on them, don't you? And I was like, yeah, because at the time I had a bunny. And I was like, yeah, I give the tops to my rabbit. She's like, oh, we were going to throw these away. I'd like to give you this big bag of carrot tops. I was like, okay, never before, has anything like that happened. And more and more and more things happened. And by the end of that month, I started receiving not only gifts, I started receiving inquiries from people who wanted to work with me, people I hadn't heard from in a long time. And I started getting ideas. And that's right around the time that I first started doing my message circles, because I'd been working with people one-on-one. And I thought, I wonder if I could do this in a group format. I wonder if I could serve more people at one time. And I went from working one-on-one to having groups of people and being able to do messages. And boom, they took off like crazy. And so by the end of the 28 days, this is a 28-day process, in that month, from the previous month, I had doubled my income. Now, that was the first time that I ever saw evidence of, if you do this, this will happen and it works for you. Up until then, it had been a theory and it was pretty hit or miss. But now I was like, wait a minute, there's a way to actually do this. How I feel about money affects how much money I have. How I feel about life affects how much money I have. Whether I'm in a positive vibration or not a positive vibration really affects my life. So this book is one I go back to often. She doesn't recommend that you go through the whole thing again, but I do. I think it's really good to go through it again. Sometimes I'll just open it up to a random page and I'll do the exercise that's in here. A great thing about this book is once you do go through the whole thing, she has an index in the back where you can look up, if you only want to do gratitude around health or you only want to do it around money, you can pick the specific days and the specific exercises in here and just do those every day. And it is fabulous. This woman gets me in the vortex of happiness just by reading the introduction to the book. That's how high vibration that book is. So that's The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. I will have that in the show notes for you. So about 6 months after that book, another book came across my path. And, I was doing my gratitudes, but I noticed that there were some days where it was easier for me to be in gratitude and days that it was not. And I started to wonder, is there something that I can do that can really help me? And I'm a big fan of quantum physics and how it explains the inner workings and how it explains the divine and all that stuff. And there is this great book by, now he's a colleague and a friend of mine, called How Quantum Physicists Build New Beliefs by Greg Kuhn, Kuhn. And Greg is a really great author of these books about quantum physics. He is a teacher by trade, but he's definitely a quantum physicist hobbyist, I guess we could say. He studies a lot and he puts it into practice in his own life. And this book is so great because he shares his own experience of when the housing market crashed and he was in, now get this, literally $1 million in debt with these properties that he had. And he didn't know what he was going to do. He had no idea what he was going to do. And he'd been watching Abraham Hicks and, Esther Hicks talking about different things. And he was like, I get what she's saying, but there's got to be a way that you can, how do you make yourself feel better consistently without faking it, without trying to go from feeling depressed to feeling excited? How can you authentically move yourself from wherever you are into a place of joy, love that stays with you? And I was like, yeah, I want to know the answer to that question. So he took himself through a process that he outlines in this book, So this is very much a hands-on how-to book. He's got some other books that explain this whole philosophy, but if you want to get into the nuts and bolts of like, all right, I want to understand it, but I also want a map of how to do it, How Quantum Physicists Build New Beliefs, this is the book for you, my friend. Now I have it on my, I actually have hard copy and a Kindle copy. I think my hard copy is still back in California, so I have my one on my iPad, so I can't give you the page number, but I can tell you that it's chapter 5, and this is my process to retrain your subconscious brain and build new beliefs that align with and manifest your desires. So Greg went through a process where he realized he had a really bad story around abundance. I think he just did it on the word abundance. And whenever he thought about abundance, it made him feel hopeless. It made him feel depressed. It made him feel despair, a lot of really negative things. And you can imagine I think he went into buying properties thinking that that was going to help him with his prosperity. And then lo and behold, he ends up having $1 million in debt. Now, he didn't ask anybody to help him with this. All he did was take you through this process that he shares in this book of taking himself up the emotional reference chart, which I'll tell you in just a second. And by doing that over the course of, I believe it was 30 to 60 days, one by one, each of those debts that he had resolved itself. One by one, it resolved itself. And finally, he got towards the end of his process, and there was still a little bit of a stickiness around one of the properties. It was still going to be like $100,000. And he realized he needed to do some forgiveness work, and he did. And then the final one resolved. And then he went from having $1 million in debt to having no debt at all. Pretty miraculous, would you say? I would say so. So this is in chapter 5. And an emotional reference chart, it's inspired by the book Ask and It Is Given by Jerry and Esther Hicks. And he made his own reference charts, but they talk about that when they talk about getting into the vortex. It's about getting into an emotional state and just getting yourself a little bit higher. And so the way that Greg explains this is he says that one summer he was working on a house, doing some building work, construction work, and there was a bunny in the backyard, and he was out eating his lunch or something like that. And he said, I wonder how long it would take me to get that bunny to come and be on my back porch here while I'm sitting here and working. And so he knew that if he tried to get the bunny from the far end of the yard onto the porch in one fell swoop, the bunny would freak out and run away. Well, the analogy is that our beliefs and our subconscious mind are a lot like that skittish bunny. So what he did is he would take a little piece of carrot and he'd go back to where the bunny, that area where the bunny was, and he'd put it out there in the morning. And then by lunchtime, there would the bunny be nibbling on the carrot. And then the next day, he put it like a few inches closer. Here comes the bunny. Next day, a few inches closer. And he did this over the course of several weeks. And at times the bunny was a little hesitant, but the bunny remembered that there would be a juicy carrot there for it. And it got a little bit closer. And finally, at the end of, I think it was 30 days, the bunny is on the porch. And this is the idea of working with your subconscious mind. So remember, last week we talked about these stories that you have, and you can tell yourself a different story. Well, if you have a belief that's really strong, it's a story that doesn't want to budge, it might not want to go from the far end of the yard to the porch so quickly. And this is where people get frustrated and they give up and they're like, oh, this doesn't work for me. I've always had money problems. I'm always going to have money problems. But no, my friends, this is where the money miracle can happen. You can guide yourself up this chart. So I'm going to tell you that the chart starts with depression and hopelessness at number 23. And the process that he takes you through is you start writing a little bit every day about your story about hopelessness, and you let yourself write it. And then as soon as you're done writing it, you ask yourself, can I go up one emotion? Can I go up one step? What's number 22? Powerlessness and dejection. So once you do all your writing around depression, you're like, what would it be like to be in a place of powerlessness? Not such a stretch to go from depression to powerlessness, but energetically, It's one step up. And then you go from powerlessness to despair. Again, one step up. And then from despair to grief. Now, what I did is I went through, I took this really seriously, and I did one every day, which is how in less than 30 days, I was able to, hear me now, triple my income. And I'll tell you how I did it in just a second. So I was just going through my life, doing my normal marketing, doing what I'd been doing, things that I had been doing all along. And I had set up to do a joint event with a gentleman who I had just met. Somebody had referred him to me, and I was like, oh, his work looks interesting. Let me, do some work with him. Just like I always do, just being my normal self. But every day I was getting myself up this emotional reference chart, from worry to frustration to indifference. Finally, number 10, I got to acceptance and peace. And then I started going up to hopefulness and then enthusiasm, until I finally got to the energy of love. And the energy of love is the energy that is in that flow of abundance. So I ended up doing this joint venture with this gentleman, and boom, my list blew up. People were like calling me, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. I want to work with you. I signed on so many people to work with me that month that tripled my income. I was like, whoa, that was amazing. And so I now had a new set of beliefs, where before I was working on the gratitude. Now I could see, like, wait a minute, I can actually make 3 times the money that I've ever made in my life. And I've been building on that ever since then. And every time I go up a little bit more, go up a little bit more, go up a little bit more. So that's how Quantum Physicists Build New Beliefs by my friend Greg Kuhn. All right. Last and not least, my friends, this is the book that got me over the 6-figure mark. And I'm offering this book to you because it's a little bit different than these other 2 books. This is a little bit more nuts and bolts. Now, I have to say, I don't agree with every single thing that she says in here, because I can still see that she's got a little bit of her own limiting beliefs in here. But if you have any confusion around money, and this is a really, really good book for anybody who feels like, I know there's more for me to do. And I actually did a podcast on this book way back when I first started doing my podcast. So it's somewhere within, I think, the first 10 episodes or so, this book, Overcoming Underearning by Barbara Stanny. Overcoming Underearning, a 5-step plan to a richer life. Now, what's great about this book is this book will address any behaviors that you have that are self-sabotaging behaviors. So these other books are going to really help you address what's going on the inside. It's going to get you into a really good place. This book will also help you with what's going on the inside, but it'll also help you with actions you can take on the outside as well. For example, if, let's just say, you want to make 6 figures, but you're not charging enough money, and maybe your business is completely full, and you're like, I don't have room for more clients, but why aren't I making more money? Is because you're undervaluing yourself. An action that you might need to take is you might need to raise your fees, or you might need to put in some boundaries, or you might need to stop overspending, because money is a very interesting topic for us. Or you might, like some people have what I call coupon consciousness, which I had that for a really long time. And when you are very coupon conscious, what are you telling the universe? There's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough, there's not enough. So I'll tell you how this book really helped me. And the first thing I'm going to do, though, is I want to share with you her definition of underearning. Because you might be saying, well, I'm making enough money. So she says an underearner is somebody who earns less than her potential despite her need or desire to do so otherwise. One who earns less than her potential despite her need or desire to do so otherwise. And she puts in here, underearning is not the same as voluntary simplicity, which is a conscious choice to live on less. Underearning is when you want to earn more, and you're trying to earn more, but you don't seem to be able to do it. So I really recommend this book. It really opened my eyes to some patterns that I had. But here's how this book helped me to go from close to six figures to way over six figures. Is for me personally, in my own business, I had never gotten to that six-figure point as a healer, probably because I had a belief that I couldn't do it. And I had a lot of mixed feelings about it. And this book, she has you go through an exercise where you simply decide. And it might seem like, well, that's simple. No, it wasn't simple. I had to take myself out for a walk. And I was talking to myself while I was out walking. And I was like, you can do this. And the part of me was like, oh, I don't know that I can do it. It's like, you can do this. And I had to talk myself. And it's like, we are doing this. We are doing this. And as soon as I made that decision, boom, my income shot up 30%, got me well over that six-figure mark. And as soon as I was like, hey, I'm a six-figure light worker. Hey, that's amazing. Because there's not that many of us out there. My confidence went up, all because I made the decision. Now, she has a lot of exercises in here of, you might need to have a conversation with your spouse. You might need to stop taking care of other people. This book really addresses money and codependency, in my opinion. You might need to stop saving everybody. You might need to start prioritizing yourself. All of these things that she talks about, I went through all of it. And again, this book is a book that you need to do the exercises. So if I was going to recommend it to you, my friends, I would say start with the gratitude book and start to feel better. Start to get yourself into a place of hope. Work through the emotional reference chart with Greg's book, How Quantum Physicists Build New Beliefs. And you're going to start to see that you can create your circumstances, that you do not have to be a victim to your circumstances. People say you can create your own economy. You absolutely can. You can consciously work with the energy of money miracles. Absolutely. And then you can read this book, Overcoming Underearning, and you can start to see where you've been sabotaging yourself and not holding yourself in the highest energy. And you can start stepping into your vision of what you know you're here to do, who you know you're here to be, and how the universe is wanting to work through you. Because the universe is totally wanting you to be the biggest, best, brightest, happiest, healthiest, most abundant light worker you can be, my friend. It doesn't serve the world for all of us who have these great spiritual skills to be scraping by. It doesn't serve the world for all of us who know how to help people to be having day jobs where we're not helping people, at least not in the way that we can or the way that we're trained. And it doesn't help the world to keep ourselves small. I believe in this so much that after getting such a huge response to last week's episode, I'm going to be offering a free class, and I'm going to let you know about it, on this whole idea of money miracles, kind of 101, to help you see like what it is that's holding you back. And for those of you who are interested in learning more about that, I will be telling you in next week's episode where you can sign up for that and how you can start to really magnify your money miracles. I'm telling you, my friends, if I can do it, I who have had a long history and not a happy one with money, up and down, and stress and confusion. And, you know, I have number dyslexia, so numbers in general are challenging for me. And put that with money, and oh my God, it just was so stressful. If I can be on this podcast that goes out around the world talking to millions of people, if I can be sitting here and sharing with you my process, that I walk down this process. I'm not telling you this is a theory. These are things that I actually did. I can look at you and say, yeah, I'm a six-figure light worker. multiple six-figure at this point. And I love what I'm doing. I love who I'm helping. And I'm looking to go from where I am to the next level as well. I'm still going to come back to these core tools because it all has to do with my vibration, my belief system, and my actions. Am I acting in alignment? That's what the thing you want to ask yourself. If you're sitting here and you're saying, oh, I'm a multimillionaire, and you're cutting out coupons, you are not acting like a multimillionaire, my friend. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not criticizing you. It's about alignment. You want to get yourself in alignment. So you want to start having that different relationship with money. It starts with the story. Like I said last week, you can have a different story. You can have a different result. And now you're going to start having a different relationship. So this is all about, these books are going to help you have a different relationship with abundance by being grateful right now. So I would love to hear your thoughts about this process. Have you ever gone through any process like this? Where are you with your money process? Are you going to jump in and buy these books? Or are you going to just, start with one, whatever it is? One of the things I'm going to recommend that you do is if you can get a friend to help you, highly recommend that you get a friend to help you, because if you do it by yourself, you might start doing that gratitude practice, and at day 10, you skip a day and then you forget. And then if you don't go through the 28-day process, you're not likely to get as much out of it as you could. So get a friend who can do this process with you. And I'm here cheering you on. Absolutely. If you did enjoy this episode, I would love it if you could share it with your friends and leave me a review. That would really help me out a lot. And as always, let me know how this information is helping you and impacting you. I love, love, love hearing from you. And I love supporting you in any way that I can. All right, my friends, next week, episode number 100. And you're going to get to hear about the $10,000 miracle. No joke. I'm so excited to share it with you. All right, my friend, remember, the key to magnifying your miracles is to know that your miracle is already here. And your money is already here. It's already here. God bless you, my friends. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. I'm so grateful to be able to spend this time with you. If you want even more inspiration, feel free to visit my website, francisfaden.com or magnifyyourmiracles.com. And if you did enjoy this episode, I would really appreciate it if you left a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever it is that you connect with awesome podcasts. Remember, the key to magnifying your miracles is remembering that your miracle is already here.